Hello and welcome back to SPINcast. My name is Sheridan and today I'm here with Bearlight and Brayden, and today we'll be talking about what you need to know before your first esports recruiting LAN. So what is a recruiting LAN? So a recruiting LAN is a unique opportunity for you to show off your skills and meet coaches in person if you're looking for an esports scholarship. And these events are super important to establishing yourself as a player in the space and getting to know the programs that are in the space. So Brayden, why would you say that recruiting LANs are important to attend?
Yeah, so recruiting lands are going to be one of those, in my opinion, crucial pieces of your recruiting journey. And so think of it as like a general sport. You're attending camps where there's going to be coaches that are going to be watching you perform the 40-yard dash, or even if you're traveling to play another team, the coach can go and watch you there. Can't really do that with esports, and so your best opportunity for a coach to see you in real time, real in-game scenarios are going to be these recruiting lands.
Would you say that traveling to these events is super important? Why would you want to make that a priority?
So definitely want to be keeping an eye on the local ones, just so you don't have to do those expenses like the hotel or the travel costs, the flights or anything like that. But if there's a good opportunity and a good company is going to be regionally near you, absolutely make that effort to travel, because one is going to get the company to notice how important you're taking this, and they're going to be hosting a lot more in that area. Two, it's going to give the coaches the same aspect on how serious you're taking this, and you're willing to travel for something that means a lot to you.
Exactly. And Bearlight, what would you say goes into setting up a recruiting LAN and the college fair that are at these recruiting LANs?
Oh man, where do I begin? It's definitely a process, but it's always satisfying to be able to put some of these together. But just like all the students, all the colleges, for us behind the scenes to build it is definitely one of those things where you have to start very early in the day, right? Get there early, but the amount of PCs and monitors and making sure that you have peripherals to go with that. So, keyboards, mice, should the students need it, to have that behind the scenes. That's something to take into consideration. Typically, we have like 30 to 40 PCs that we're setting up. So those are stationed specifically. So a lot of equipment. So you have to make sure all the equipment gets there unharmed, right? Which is always a good step in the process, not losing too much on that front, but also being able to line them up in places where students can connect, having those PCs in an area in the arena where they can compete, be next to their teammates, give them fist bumps, right? Keep the vibes high, but at the same time, when they're done playing, be able to visit the college fair as well. So we set up the tables for the colleges so that they can set up all of their assets that they can show the students too. So lots of stations to take into consideration, plus all the internet and power needs for students and the colleges as well. So lots of finite details for sure, but everything that really holds it together from a infrastructure setup is got to be there in order to execute perfectly.
Definitely. And then Brayden, you've been to one of these recruiting LANs with Stay Plugged In. You went to the Roosevelt University LAN. What was that like? And you talked to some coaches and students as well. What did students have to say about being in that in-person environment? How different that is?
Yeah, it was awesome. For my firsthand collegiate LAN, at least, the environment was incredible. It was in downtown Chicago, so you can't ask for a better scenery. Might want a little better weather next time. It was about -3 the entire weekend, so no. Otherwise, it was rough. But no, it was beautiful, and having as many kids show out as they did. I mean, Smash Brothers alone, I think we had close to 50 admissions, I think. And so that was incredible in its own right. But talking to the parents, talking to the students, they were just thankful that someone was willing to host a high school or a collegiate LAN, so that they could get the opportunity to show themselves off and actually compete on land rather than online. I know we're coming off COVID, and so still kind of recuperating and trying to get the lands going as efficient as they once were. And so those kids that were 12, 13 at the time, who are now going into their junior, senior year, didn't have the opportunity to compete at the lands as early as they could have, right? So they're trying to get that experience now, and they're super grateful, super appreciative, and everyone's having a great time. One unique experience that I saw was, I'm going to shout him out, the St. Xavier esports head coach was talking to the parents and was actually going to them before talking to any of the students, trying to get them interested in the program and tell them what he's about, what his morals are, and just, trying to hit, I think he was just trying to, hit the top of the pyramid before he keeps going down. And I thought that was a really good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't see a lot of parents coming out to these events. What would you say is the value in having your parent come to a recruiting event like this?
Yeah, so I mean, having your parent there is kind of just it's hard to explain what esports is to a parent because they see video games at face value. It's a time waste. It's just him getting his mind off or her getting his mind off at what's going on right now. But there's real opportunity in esports and high school esports specifically, and to just verbally express that is a little hard, and to show them exactly what you're talking about and show them the passion that, more than just you're displaying at home screaming through the doors and your parents hear you in the halls and everything. It's unlike anything else. And your parents, I saw parents at the Roosevelt Land, they fully get the picture and like, okay, maybe we need to pay a little more attention to this and let him dedicate some more time.
That's so interesting too. You can kind of see the transition in the parents' eyes for a lot of them that haven't attended already. I think the most important thing as a parent is to at least have an open mind and attend one of these lands, because it's the moment that they're there and walk in the door for the first time, and I've been to a lot of these lands, so I know who's been there and who hasn't before. They're always some of the more open parents. You can tell they're like, I don't know what to expect, but it seems like it's going to be a good time. My kid seems to be having fun, so I don't know what's happening here, but I'm definitely open to it, right? And then over the course of the day, the land, Braden, I know you've seen this firsthand. Sheridan, you probably have as well, where the parents over time, you talk to them afterwards in an interview fashion. They're like, this is so cool. The college representation that's here, right? The gameplay too. You get to play with some of his friends from across the country. Like, where else do you get to do that, right? Obviously there's other lands elsewhere, but to have the college hand in hand with that combination is one of the best combinations to have in esports if you're pursuing college for that, or anything related to esports in general. So I would encourage parents to just have an open mind, check out an event, and if you don't agree with it then that's of course your own decision, but definitely give it a shot. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key parts about LAN events is that we hear from students a lot who say, my parents didn't get it until I told them that I got a college scholarship, that colleges wanted to give me money. But you can legitimize it a little earlier down the line if you bring them to these recruiting LAN events, because you can see, wow, look at all these people that showed up. Wow, we can talk to these college coaches and learn about their program. I think that's super important. So continuing to run and host these recruiting LAN events will be absolutely crucial to helping legitimize it. And hopefully we can get some more parents coming out. And on the note of in-person versus online, I wanted to share an anecdote that Kyle from Stay Plugged In always loves to bring up, is that at one of the recruiting lands, there was a team that happened to be online, and one of the parents got a little heated about it, a little disappointed that was going on. And Kyle had talked to him and told him that it's really not about how you perform in the tournament. It's really about being able to form these in-person connections with these college coaches. So that is one of the real values of going to these in-person events, getting that experience as well. Super important.
I think they prioritize it well. Sorry to cut you off, Braden, but I really do. Like with Stay Plugged In, there's not fancy production that goes into it, but we do capture all of the games. The focus is to give all students equal exposure, or at least do the best to the best of our abilities to really nail it down so that everybody gets that airtime, so colleges can see them in action. And then also, more time and focus is going to go into making sure the college fair is running smoothly, that the students have the opportunity and time in order to visit the college fair, right? They're not playing games consistently. They actually get that one-on-one conversations with the parents as well. As a caster, at first glance, when I first came on board, I was like, what is this? I want a full production, all this stuff. I was like, wow, they really actually understand, the goal. And I think they do that really well. So from a caster standpoint, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to the fact that, what we're doing at events is we're giving you the spotlight to perform and every opportunity for you to show yourself off, just as much as you have every opportunity to approach those coaches and make your name known, and just as much as you can in the game as well. Just make yourself as known as you can at these recruiting lands. We're doing our work, put in your work as well. It's kind of a two-way street there.
Absolutely. And Braden, at this Roosevelt land, you mentioned seeing some coaches talking to parents. What kind of student coach interactions did you see at the college fair?
At the college fair specifically, I saw it. Well, so Roosevelt was hosting it. Thank you again to the Roosevelt esports staff for being very hospitable. What I thought was really cool, and maybe it's just par for the course, but it being my first one, I really noticed it and really liked it. They have a really unique campus, and so it's kind of hard to explain that. And so what they did is they just took all the students that were interested on a campus tour right then and there. Like, all right, we're gonna step away from our table. We're gonna show you the campus. You're interested. We're gonna show you what you want. And I thought that was really cool. And then I saw St. Xavier, the head coach, going and talking to the parents first, and then going and talking to the kids, and kind of just putting his foot in the door before going all the way into the house. Russell Sage Esports, they're based in Albany, New York, and they traveled all the way to Chicago because they knew how important it was to talk to these kids in the Midwest. They're going to have their East Coast recruiting lands, but they're wanting to hit the Midwest a little harder, so they traveled all the way out there and kind of just stressing, how grateful they were to be at the land to watch these kids perform to the kids. It made the kids even more appreciative.
Absolutely. And it kind of just shows how big of a tool this can be for universities as well, that you can say, hey, thanks for coming to our land. Let's take you around campus real quick. I think that's super powerful and impactful for the students. And Brandon, you also talked about how it's kind of a two-way street. You need to come prepared to play, but you should also come prepared to introduce yourself and talk to coaches. So let's dip into a little bit of advice. What should students prepare before going to LAN events?
Yeah, so I mean, I like the idea of coming in with a resume prepped. It doesn't have to be a physical piece of paper. If it is, it might impress some people. But just some basic statistics is the wrong word, but just accolades that you may have, your GPA, your ambitions going into college, what you're wanting out of a program, all of that to a college coach is just going to be icing on the cake. They're going to see that you're knowing what you want out of university, and that you're dedicated, and that you're not going to come into the program and just do what you can and whatever. They know that you 100% want to be there for X, Y, and Z, and you're going to accomplish X, Y, and Z while you're there.
Yeah, definitely want the elevator pitch for sure. It's first of all, it's good to practice, right? When you get into job interviews down the road, that's obviously something that you want to have, and it's something you are going to express to, job opportunities. So you want to prepare that. Obviously, colleges, same way. So you want to be prepared, know your strengths, right? Play to your strengths, and just make sure and ensure that this college is right for you, right? You're going to have to spend some time on this campus learning, and in fact, a majority of it is going to be classes that you take. So you want classes that you want to approach, right? The topics that you want to study. Make sure that those are available, because this is going to be your home for 4 years. So those questions prepared, number one. Also, the elevator pitch, like you mentioned, is good. And I talked about it with the parents too, but it also applies to the students. Open mind, right? Because for the parents, it's just open minds that esports can be this powerful. For the students, it's have an open mind as far as which college is approaching you. Don't shut a college down if they're trying to talk to you. All the opportunities that are in front of you are available, right? And if you shut some down, you may be missing out on something that you may have not thought was going to be your home for 4 years, and you figure out it's a good opportunity for you. So definitely come in and let the colleges talk. And then if it's not for you, you can definitely vocalize that too towards the end of your conversation. They don't have any issue with that, I promise. But those are some of the things to prepare.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we say like resume or elevator pitch, it can sound a little scary. But I think just being ready to talk about yourself in general is super important. Like writing down, I always like to say, be ready to talk about yourself as a student, be ready to talk about yourself in the game, be ready to talk about yourself as a recruit. What sets you apart? Are you the club president for the chess club? Do you have a 4.0 GPA? Make sure you write that down and be prepared to talk about that. You don't need something super fancy, and you don't have to memorize things, but try to be prepared and write down what you might talk about. And you can always practice that with a teacher, a friend, a coach. So what advice do you have for students who might be going to their first recruiting LAN event? They might be a little nervous. They might not know what to expect.
Yeah, so on the prepare note, you want to prep your social media and what you're publicly displaying before you go to this LAN, because you're going to go and make this impression to the coach, and they might think, hey, this kid is a really great recruit, strong character. I really want to look more into this guy and recruit him a little heavier. So they're going to go to your Twitter page. What do they see? That you want to be able to control that. And that goes for all facets. You want to control your Twitch, your YouTube, your Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, anything social public viewing. You want to be able to have as much control and just make sure that that's going to show you as good as light that is possible.
Absolutely, that's super important as well. That's a definitely a good tip.
I would say take a deep breath first. I think it's a very overwhelming experience sometimes, but it is everybody here is here for what you love to do in the first place. I think it's good to kind of calm down and say this is esports, right? At its very core. And you're coming in, obviously you want to have all of that prepared. It can seem overwhelming, but I think the biggest thing here preparing for the LAN is, number one, having all of those things ready to talk to colleges, but number two is just being able to compete at your highest ability by just relaxing and getting out there and putting your name out there as well. I think is very important too.
And then I talked to a lot of coaches as well, and one thing that coaches have said to me is that it's not super about your performance in the game. Like, that's important, but if you have a bad day, everyone has bad days in the game and outside of the game. If you're having a bad day, that's not something to get really upset about or really worry about, because you can always make up for it in these conversations that you have with coaches. So you don't want to neglect that part. You're not just coming to play, you're coming to talk to coaches as well. And also realizing that coaches are also human beings. They are there. They've been through it. They've talked to every kind of person, whether you're nervous or not nervous, your first LAN, your 80th LAN, they've talked to all skill levels, so that's not something to be nervous about. So yeah, like Bear said, take a deep breath, realize it's okay, and there's also tons of time during LAN events where you can kind of take a step back and collect yourself, so you're not always competing. So it's something to keep in mind as well. We have a couple of upcoming events for Stay Plugged In.
Yeah, so we're going to be in South Orange, New Jersey at Seton Hall. We're super excited for this campus LAN. We're going to be featuring Rocket League and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Both have had a incredible turnout at the previous LAN, so we're assuming the same this time. And then as well, there's going to be an extra collegiate portion that maybe the high school kids will get to watch and kind of see what they're going to be, what they could be competing in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you recommend some of those high school students asking college students about their experience at their college?
Absolutely. Get the information that you're really wanting firsthand that the coach may not tell you. Yeah, definitely want to be interviewing. Interviewing is maybe not the right word. You want to be talking to the players right there and getting all the information that you can about the university, the program, their experience so far, what maybe they don't like as much, because they're going to be brutally honest with you. They're not trying to sell you as hard as maybe a coach may be, and so that's where you're going to get all that raw information.
Absolutely. And we will also be hosting an event in conjunction with the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup. That will be in early May, and it will be featuring Valorant, Smash, and players will have the opportunity to compete in front of college coaches. And that will be held at Esports Stadium Arlington in Texas.
So shortly after, we partnered with PlayVersus, they have been really awesome in working with us to create this event in the Northeast. So we're heading out to West Hartford, Connecticut. We're going to be playing the games Rocket League and Smash Brothers like we have at multiple LANs. But for those of you in the Northeast that are into League of Legends, now's your chance to come out and compete in front of these college coaches and show them what you're made of, and check in and talk to these colleges about potentially attending their colleges in the future. And so again, that's going on May 20th through the 21st. So another first Saturday and Sunday event. For those of you who compete under a school that's with Play Versus or competes under Play Versus, you actually get to you get a bit of a discount. So you get in for free. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Definitely provides opportunity for these students, but everybody's welcome to come and compete in front of these colleges in West Hartford, Connecticut, and I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I know it's gonna be a little bit chilly. It's not quite summertime, but from what I hear, the location is pretty awesome. So I can't wait to see what these players bring.
All right, we'll see you in Connecticut. And now it is Q&A time. We have some recruiting Q&A. What can I do to set myself apart from other recruits?
If I were a college coach and I was looking for recruits, I'm going to be looking for the best team builders that I can find. Your skill level in game is going to set you apart as much as it can, right? But there's a ceiling to that. It's how well you work within a team setting, within a group environment, and the group projects and all that stigma. I get it, but if you can uplift your teammates and make them as comfortable as possible in those bad situations that Sheridan was hitting on earlier, maybe you're not performing as best as you can, but you're putting your teammates up for better opportunities in game. The coach is going to look at that as a diamond in the rough, and you are now the number one candidate because they know that they're comfortable putting you with any player that may come in the future, and they're going to get their best performance out of you and them.
That actually kind of rolls right into what I was going to say. So great segue there, because I was going to talk about leadership. And number one, I think that's a sign of a true leader that can rally the troops behind a mission, right, that the coach sets out. So being coachable kind of goes along with that as well. So not only the leadership, but also being able to be coached. Even as a leader, you need to be coachable, right? Just because you're leading others does not mean that you're not going to have directive from somebody above you. So being coachable, learning from your mistakes, and being able to roll them from there. But my second point is actually, to me, a bigger thing in the current stance of recruiting. That's just be more respectful as a student. And I'm not calling anybody out specifically. I'm just saying in general, it's always good to have better communication with the college, right? For example, if you're talking to a college, if they reach out to you, for example, and your first message to them is like, "Oh, I have never heard of your college." Like, that's not the best way to start a conversation, right? You'd rather, go up to or when they respond to the college, just say, "Hello, my name is, Bearlight, and I'd love to hear more about your college." It goes back to having an open mind, like I said before, but be more respectable. Don't just ghost a college, right? That always comes back to haunt you, right? It kind of just... it talks about you as a person when you're able to have a conversation with a college too. So just be respectful from the get-go and be inquisitive as well. Just make sure that you know everything there is to know about the college before you decide to sign that paper.
Definitely. And I talk to a lot of coaches, and they always say they love a student who can take initiative, who can put themselves out there. And I agree. Always respond, keep an open mind. And my final thing that I'll say is that getting involved early is super important. Playing on a team, getting that experience. They don't necessarily want to see your results in solo queue. They want to see how you can interact with others on a team. That's super important for a lot of coaches. So get involved early, whether that's online or in your local community. And now we're going to check in on the Stay Plugged In Spring Series.
Spring Series just wrapped up last week. We had Turbo Monday presented by eNASCAR. We had that wrapping up on Monday. Shooters was your champion there, and we got household names. You got Tide, Resinal, and Zella, I think was a sub. I think it was Indigo who was the main third there. Dominant performance all season long. They actually got pretty lucky in the finals. I think they got a better matchup than they were intending. I think a team went out a little earlier than they anticipated. But
yeah, Resinal and Tide are two of the players that have been around since basically the get-go here at Stay Plugged In. I think it's they've been those young players like you mentioned prior to COVID earlier in the broadcast, and so now we talk about them now, and they've constantly been grinding on the weeklies back in the day, right, like a year ago, and ever since the beginning of 2022 they've really come into their own. But what's cool about their story is not only do they win a lot, but it's been that duo for a while, and they can constantly rotate out a third. But I think what that shows is that they can play as a team, right? It doesn't matter who they will have as that third coming in. They always seem to find a way to win, and I think that camaraderie, number one, between those two players is strong. But it also shows that they can basically match up with anybody and get the job done. So shout out to those guys for continuously winning these events and showing off to the colleges.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I mean, I think the youngest or the oldest one rather is a junior. So they still got time to develop and become an even better player than they may think they are right now. That's scary for one for the Rocket League scene because they're crazy. But two, it's just an even better opportunity for them to hone those skills and get a better opportunity down the line at a college. And so then on Spring Series Road to Radiant side, on Tuesday we had that finishing up, and we had Rejects coming out on top. I think they were the 2 seed going into it, and so they had Smarty, Soup, S2A, Reza, and Huji, all again household spin names. So we love to see them coming back and competing and having success. And yeah, incredible season out of them. I think they won 2 of the weeks. I could be wrong on that, 1 or 2 of the weeks. And then came out on top in the tournament, and that's when they performed, and that's when it mattered. So congratulations to them.
Absolutely. Congratulations to all the champions. And that's it for SPINcast this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow us and share this if you think it's worth sharing. And we will see you in the next one.